Num Num delivers fresh food with whole ingredients backed by veterinarian science. Science tells us that a dog's health starts in the bowl, so improving their diet is one of the best ways to help them live a long and happy life. Num Num's food is full of proteins your dog loves and the vitamins and nutrients they need to thrive. All you have to do is order, pour, and serve. Ready to make the switch to fresh? Order Num Num today. Go to https://trynom.com/curveball and get 50% off your first order plus free shipping. That's https://trynom.com/curveball. Plus, Num Num comes with a money-back guarantee. If your dog's tail isn't wagging within 30 days, Num Num will refund your first order. No fillers, no nonsense, just Num Num. Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by lifelong mental health advocate, entrepreneur, and founder of Ketamine's Clinic, Los Angeles, Sam Mandel. Sam founded the clinic with his father in 2014, and it is among the most well-respected ketamine infusion therapy clinics in the United States. So we're going to be talking to him about his clinic, what they do, and about his story. So Sam, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Curtis. Nice to be here.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a nice introduction. Appreciate it. To expand upon that, I am the co-founder and CEO of Ketamine Clinics Los Angeles. We're one of the first ketamine clinics to open in the United States in 2014. Been doing this work full time for a decade now. I co-founded the practice with my father, Dr. Stephen Mandel. We are a family-owned and operated clinic and fully self-funded, no investors. And we built what was really just the two of us in a tiny little closet of an office in 2014 to a 5,000 square foot facility with a team of 17 and growing. And really, it's a pleasure to be doing this work. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you. And I'm passionate about mental health and the opportunity to educate people on what ketamine is, how it works, and other alternative and evidence-based solutions for the mental health crisis.
That was going to be my next question. What made you guys found the clinic, and what is ketamine and how does it work?
Yeah, so, I volunteered with a teen-to-teen suicide prevention line when I was 12 years old. I took calls from other kids in crisis a couple days a week after school. And that was some of my first exposure to kind of working within mental health. I also had a lot of friends and family who struggled over the years since I was young with depression, addiction, people I lost to suicide at a young age. And so I had a lot of exposure, and it is a personal passion of mine. I've been affected by it in many different ways. My father did everything towards his PhD in clinical psychology, except for his dissertation when he decided to go to medical school and become an anesthesiologist. Ketamine is actually an FDA-approved anesthetic. It's been around since the 60s. It was FDA approved in 1970. But it was approved as an anesthetic. And, in the last 20 years, it's been proven to be among the most effective medications when used clinically, intravenously, for depression, PTSD, anxiety, suicidality, and other mental health conditions. So for him, as an expert anesthesiologist and using ketamine, when it was discovered to be really effective for treating mood and his background in psychology, it was just a perfect blending of his worlds. And he also has personal interest for some of the same reasons that I mentioned that I do. So we teamed up together and brought this treatment to the world. And It's been quite a journey. It's really is an amazing treatment. And I'm happy to kind of get into more details about exactly, what it is and how it works.
Yeah, let us know what it is and explain to the listeners also how it works.
Sure, sure. So yeah, as I mentioned, I mean, ketamine is initially an anesthetic, but we use it in a much smaller dose, IV infusions in the clinic. Patients come in, we start an IV. Infusion takes about an hour. So it's a slow, steady, gradual rate of the medicine. We make them comfortable with pillows, blankets, noise canceling headphones. They recline in a comfortable chair and relax. And they go on this kind of inner journey because ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic. It's got, psychedelic properties. It's in many ways a psychedelic medicine in this context. So there's a whole bunch going on in terms of how it works, both neurochemically and the effects that it has on the brain, and then psychologically, or the experience of the treatment. So we have an 83% success rate. We mostly treat people who have been labeled as treatment resistant, which means that they've, tried at least several other conventional methods like SSRIs and other, prescription medications, and they haven't benefited. Some of them have also had ECT or, other more invasive procedures done and just not gotten relief. And they do benefit from ketamine infusions because they work totally differently from any of these other things that we've had up until recently. On the neurochemical level, there's a whole bunch of processes that happen in the brain. Some of them are that it increases production of BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotropic factor. This actually causes an increase in parts of the brain like the prefrontal cortex and its physical size, increased dendrite density and connectivity, new neural connections being formed. It's a actual getting at the root causes of these issues, actually enhancing brain function and connectivity and helping to promote healing in the brain in areas that are underactive due to mood disorders. So there's nothing else really out there we've had today that really gets at the root cause that doesn't just cover symptoms like SSRIs. So this is one of the things that really makes ketamine exciting and different. It also works very quickly, usually within a couple of hours to a couple of days, whereas the alternative treatments to it are, taking 4 to 6 weeks or months to work. And the quality of relief is not the same. With ketamine, people really get a restoration of pleasure, more compassion for themselves and others, healing and processing trauma, and new insight and perspective on their lives. That's not, none of those things are really achieved through any of the other traditional methods that we have today. And then aside from some of the neurochemical effects, like it being an NMDA receptor antagonist, causing an increase in the neurotransmitter glutamate, which is associated with, mood and function. It has the experiential component. And as I touched on briefly before, that's the, psychological, that's the kind of, at times even spiritual experience of the treatment. And that varies widely from person to person, what it looks like. But generally, people are able to get this outside kind of view of themselves and their life, their past, their relationships, heal and process through trauma that might be, suppressed, or things that are too difficult for them to talk about in talk therapy or work through. They don't want to think about them. But ketamine helps them to kind of detach from that emotional response to those things enough to really take a look at it and get closure from it. So it's extremely healing and therapeutic in that sense as well. And, the combination helps people to disrupt negative patterns of thinking and being in their life and have kind of a fresh slate, a reset, if you will, to really build anew with healthy lifestyle, healthy ways of thinking and being, and really to lead their best lives.
So tell us about some of the benefits and risks of this therapy.
Yeah, that's a good question. So there's really no long-term side effects. Short-term are very minimal. None of the side effects that you get with conventional medications. When I talk about those, I'm really referring to SSRIs, SNRIs, mood stabilizers, and antipsychotic medications, MAOIs, all the kind of different classes of antidepressant pills that people take. So none of those side effects, no long-term side effects. Risks are really minimal to none when it's used in a clinical setting by responsible clinicians. The worst thing that we see is sometimes people don't benefit. Nothing works for every person every time. As I mentioned, we have an 83% success rate. It's very, very high. That still leaves about 17% who don't benefit. But people are not worse off after having had the treatment. It doesn't cause harm to people. There is, super minimal, mild, short-term side effects that can occur, like feeling dizzy or nauseated, fatigued. These things usually subside within 1 day of treatment. So someone might, leave the clinic feeling a little unsteady on their feet, like they had a few glasses of wine, or a little dizzy, or maybe, one or 2 out of 10 people might feel a little nauseated. We can give them medicine to help with that. Aside from those small things, there's really nothing significant, nothing long lasting for patients as far as the downsides. And as far as the positives, it runs the whole, gamut of everything in life really improving. We have people who have been bedridden and unable to work, who have gone back to work, become, loving husbands or wives or mothers or fathers or partners again. We have people who are able to get new, healthy relationships with others, whether it be intimate or just with friends and family, restore connections with people in their life, just feeling happy, healthy, restoring people with hope, giving them back a sense of feeling, that they're worth something, giving them the empowered feeling that they actually can take on the things that they need to in their life to make a better life for themselves and their wellness. Getting back to the basics of good sleep, good food, adequate nutrition, healthy fitness, making time for those social connections, participating in talk therapy. A lot of the things that most people know are good for them, but really struggle to do when they're really in the depths of despair and they don't have the energy or the motivation to do them, even if they know that they would be good. When they get relief from ketamine, they can really embrace those things and build a better life.
Well, it sounds like this treatment can really benefit lots of people. So why is it that so many few people have heard about it?
Great question. And this is the one that comes up a lot. And it's a very understandable one. So a little bit of context, you know, as I mentioned, ketamine was FDA approved for um, as an anesthetic. It's being used off label for mood. When a drug's approved by the FDA, it's for a very specific indication and a specific patient population. So you are allowed to use that medicine basically as a physician, however you want, if you think there's good evidence for that. But insurance companies won't pay for it if it isn't FDA approved for that specific indication. So it's a cash pay treatment. Um, there also the patents, and so I mentioned that because a lot of people are looking for things that are covered by insurance when they're looking at their options. The other thing is because it's a really old medicine, even though this is an exciting newer use for it, the patent is up. So no one really makes money on the sale of ketamine. It's a cheap generic drug. At least half a dozen, people make it in the U.S. So there's no one really lobbying for its use. Uh, when big pharma gets a drug approved, they spent a lot of money on advertising that drug, taking doctors out to nice dinners and talking to them about how, whining and dining them, talking about how great it is and why they should prescribe it, making sales pitches, coming to conferences, speeches, all kinds of stuff they do to really spread the word and try to get as many people to take that drug as they possibly can. No one is doing that with ketamine because no one would make any money on the sale of ketamine because they don't own it. It's not theirs. It's not their proprietary thing. Like I said, it's a generic. So that's a huge reason why most people, if not the number one reason why a lot of people haven't heard about this. And it's really unfortunate because it's a life-saving medicine. It's truly the best treatment out there today, and it's available today. So many people have misinformation or they don't have any information about it because their doctor isn't talking about it, because their doctor doesn't know about it, because their doctor's not being pitched and sold or pressured to use it by any kind of advocate for it. So those are some of the politics involved. And as I mentioned also, being that insurance doesn't pay for it and it's an out-of-pocket cost, a lot of people are really, exclusively focused on finding treatments that are covered by their insurance. Now, that's not really the best strategy when those treatments aren't working and you're suffering. I think definitely you need to look at alternative solutions.
So, in a business like you're in, tell us about some of the challenges and successes that you have experienced in the last 10 years of having your clinic.
Yeah, so I mean, we started with nothing. Like I said, put everything on credit cards, no investors, hardly even a business plan. To be honest with you, we just set out to help people. It's a personal passion of both my father and I's, and we just wanted to make a difference and start helping people. So really building something like this from the ground up when we were one of the first in the country, there was no model to follow. There was no real guidance. This was a very new and even radical thing to be doing at the time, and still somewhat, but less so as it's become more popular and more common throughout the country. So there's a lot of resistance, a lot of challenges, trying to figure things out for the first time, not any real good guide to follow on what others before us had done. As some of the very first movers, we had to kind of just figure it out as we went along. And there's a lot of resistance in the medical community who are typically establishment physicians, are real slow to adopt new things. And that was difficult to try to get other physicians to trust in this treatment in terms of helping to take care of patients or making referrals to us. Patients were very suspicious. There's this new crazy thing they had never heard about before. How come they've never heard of it from anyone else? Was it real? Were we just selling snake oil? Could they trust it? And just a lot of education that we've done over the years and still do. And that's why I'm grateful for people like you, Curtis, to have a platform to be able to share this information, because so much of what we do really is just trying to educate both the average person and also other physicians and clinicians who don't really know about this, and people need to know about it. So getting the word out has always been a challenge. Helping to educate people has always been a challenge. Starting with nothing and really having to do everything, just the two of us for a long time was a challenge. Now we have an amazing team of 17 people, a beautiful office, 5,000 square feet. We have come a long way. There are still so many challenges today, but our challenges are of a different scale and are rather different than when we were really just bootstrapping things from the very beginning. So those are some of them. Also, ketamine has some stigma around it. Ketamine is a drug that's used recreationally, known as Special K. And so people who have only heard about it from that use think, oh my God, I know somebody who snorted that at a party, you're giving that to people. What's wrong with you? Like it's a bad thing. Well, yeah, people use or misuse drugs of all kinds all the time. That doesn't make them bad drugs. And ketamine is not addictive. It's not it doesn't cause any kind of a physical dependency like opioids or alcohol or nicotine or other prescription medications do. So while some people might choose to use it as a means of escape, it's not something that's actually innately addictive. But because of this kind of street use of it, that's also some stigma we've had to overcome. And it's also used in veterinary medicine. People know it as a horse tranquilizer or cat tranquilizer. And so same thing, they say, yeah, I got my cat, had a procedure and got that on the vet bill. I noticed that. And, why are you giving that to people? That's for cats, but again, this all really comes back down to the educational component. People don't realize it's an FDA approved medicine for humans. And there's a lot of medicines that we use for animals because they were approved for humans and we know that they're safe. So that's just a little bit about some of the challenges.
Well, you mentioned a team of 17, a team of 17. So tell us about your team, who you guys are made up of, and also, all of the services that your clinic provides.
Yeah, we have a wonderful team. They are really dedicated and passionate about this work, and it's a diverse team, which allows for us to work in a really collaborative way with a wide variety of skills and perspectives and experience to give each patient a lot of individualized care and attention, and really the best that's available in the field. We have two in-house psychiatrists. We have anesthesiologist with a master's in psychology. We have a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, team of registered nurses. We also have an administrative team of care coordinators and operational people for support. So we're a really great team. I love my team. They do amazing work every day to save people's lives. And as far as some of the other services, after a decade of really pioneering this treatment, we added psychiatric medication management, which is just more conventional psychiatry, the management of people's prescriptions. So we offer that as a service covered by insurance. And we also offer transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, which is also a relatively newer treatment for depression and OCD that we provide in the clinic. So, and that's also covered by insurance. So we've been expanding to be just more comprehensive in our behavioral health offerings to increase access to care by taking insurance. We take 10 of the largest payers in California that we're in network with. And we're just growing to, do everything we can to provide value to patients.
So tell us about any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about.
Yeah, I would just say that some of these new services are things that we want people to be aware of. I mean, obviously, I want people to know about ketamine. Well, from what we've seen, it's still really the best thing out there for depression, PTSD, anxiety, suicidality. People get 6 infusions over 2 to 3 weeks, and then they don't need to come back for months, sometimes even a year or longer. They don't need to take pills every day. They can really have a great result from this treatment. And then as far as the other things I mentioned, those new services, there's not a lot of good psychiatrists in Los Angeles who take insurance, and those that do have wait times of usually months before they can take on any new patients, or they're not even seeing any new patients because there's such a great demand. The demand really exceeds the supply of doctors. So we're excited to be able to offer this now and have appointments, available as soon as this week. People can use their insurance, pay very little to nothing out of pocket, and get really world-class care with management of their medications and with TMS. And it's an exciting time.
We'll throw out your contact information so people can keep up with everything that you guys are up to.
Yeah, there's a lot of great information on our website, ketamineclinics.com. It's KETAMINECLINICS.com. We also offer free consultations. All inquiries are strictly confidential. People can call us at 310-270-0625. Happy to answer any of their questions. Our care coordinators are very knowledgeable and compassionate, can hear about what they have going on, help them to decide if this is a good fit for them. As I said, we have free consults as well. So if it seems like it's a good fit, people can speak with a psychiatrist or a psychiatric nurse practitioner at no charge and get additional information and share their story with them. So these are some of the things that I would encourage people to do. There's no obligation to any of it.
Okay, we'll close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to touch on that you would like to talk about, it, just any final thoughts that you have for the listeners.
Yeah, mental health treatments have stagnated for about 50 years. And there's a lot of suffering out there. I'm sure people listening can attest to that firsthand, or they know friends and family or colleagues who are suffering if they haven't experienced it themselves. And we're finally getting some real forward movement here with treatments like ketamine, other psychedelic medicines that are going to be approved and available as soon as next year, like MDMA. Psilocybin has some exciting research happening. There's a lot of progress being made now. And my message to people is that there's hope, and don't give up. And if you think you've tried everything under the sun, I can guarantee you have not. There's, between ketamine, TMS, new insight into the management of your medications, and these other treatments that are just around the corner, there's a lot going on that can help you. So if you're suffering, please ask for help. There's nothing weak about asking for help. If anything, it's strong to do that. And I encourage people to reach out and get professional help, even if they think they've already tried it all. because they haven't. And there's a lot of exciting developments here, and I want everyone to know that there's always hope.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there's always hope. KetamineClinics.com. Please be sure to check out Sam's website and everything that he's up to. And if you know of anybody that can benefit from what you've heard today, please follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. If you have any guests or suggestion topics, cjackson102 at cox.net is the place to send them. As always, thank you for listening. And Sam, thank you for joining us and sharing your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me, Curtis. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.